Welcome to episode 49 of New Indian Woman podcast, airing first in early September 2021. And I'm your host, Krishna. This is a special episode of a different kind. Guess why? We completed second anniversary of this podcast in August. Yes, 48 episodes. On this occasion, first I reached out to my friends who supported me right from when this was just an idea and invited them to refer someone who they feel should be featured in New Indian Woman podcast. And immediately, my close friend Raji reached out to me suggesting I feature Uma, saying Uma is a true inspiration to her and her story should be shared with listeners of this podcast. So we meet Uma today. Uma is Assistant Vice President in a private bank now. She is someone who started working in a foreign bank, worked there for 9 years, then took a break for 10 years to be a full time homemaker, and then resumed her career in the banking industry in her early 40s and has now risen to a senior position in a decade of experience in her second innings. So, welcome Uma to this special anniversary episode. Our listeners are eager to know more about you.
Hi, Krishna. Thanks a lot. That was a very nice introduction. I'm very happy to hear from you. This is Uma Balamurali, and something about my personal life. It is my husband is a software professional, and my I have two boys. Elder one is just going to pursue his masters in US, and younger one is in his third year of engineering. I did my schooling in Chennai only, and after that, college was at Meenakshi College. And 1990, I completed my degree, and God blessed me with a wonderful job in Citibank right in 1991 itself. So before even I attained my 21st year, I was a banker already. I couldn't think of anything beyond a banking career because I was so naive and ignorant that I thought bank is the only place that I could settle down myself with. Though it was a clerical job, I would say it was a very enriched experience, enriched environment in which I was placed in the foreign bank. And best thing that I treasure about my Citibank life is the thick set of friends whom I was blessed with. Citibank life was for 9 years, and I would say I saw everything in life when I was in Citibank, be it a downfall in terms of right at the time of confirmation. I faced a very big problem. I was too young at that time, and probably I had not kept up with the corporate standards, and so I faced a little bit of not a little bit. At that time, it was like a mountain of a challenge because everybody around me was telling that I was not up to the standards in terms of not the work. It was on the other side, the attitude and other things that you're expected in a corporate environment. That was when I realized, okay, this is not being understood in the way that you are conveying. There are a lot of things that you have to understand from the receiver's point of view.
Right.
This was a heads up, and I realized, okay, this is not what the world is. You have a lot of things that you have to learn, Uma. That was one first hurdle that I faced. That is one episode that I always try to remember. People generally tell that you have to forget all negative things. No, this negative thing, helped me a lot in terms of bringing me up on the positive side. So I thought I should remember this episode as such. Skill and professional capabilities, the caliber that you develop, the education that you've been getting, all these definitely play a role. But maturity is something that is totally not related to all these things that I told now. Because
correct.
maturity is something that you gain out of whatever you've learned as a part of your professional journey and personal life.
Correct.
And after that, there was no looking back. I realized where I went wrong and considered that as a stepping stone, a hurdle that helped me in come up in my life in terms of the attitude that I have to be exhibiting in the work environment. Attitude wise, if you are going to be slipping even a little bit, that's going to ruin your whole career. And so thankfully I understood that at a very early stage of my career, and after that it was all only success in my career. And the next 8.5 years went so smooth with lot of friendships that was gained. My friends became my boss sometimes, and my bosses became my friends at some point in time. Got married in
Yeah.
1995, and 1996 I gave birth to my first son.
Hmm.
And what happened is, my husband, being a software professional, he was always being traveling, and I had to be taking care of the child myself. And so it was becoming a big stress for me, taking care of home and work.
And we have to remember that was a time we did not have mobile connectivity, internet connectivity, everything you have to physically run around, right?
Exactly,
It
exactly.
is not like everything you can manage. Communication is not there or very minimally
Yes,
there. Yeah. So it's a different
yes.
era we are talking about. After your son was born, after you try to handle that single handedly with the help of your parents, but you came to this decision of leaving a job. This particular decision making is very common even today. Most women face this decision as to whether to leave a job or not. So, Uma, do you want to touch upon that? And especially, did you think that you can come back when you left? In terms of come back and resume job sometime later, did you see it as a temporary leaving when you decided to leave?
No, not at all. I left my job because my son was a hyperactive child at that time, and I wanted to be with him because he had lot of energy to be diverted to positive things. But unfortunately, my time was very limited when I was working, so I decided to quit the job. But it was not easy at all. A lot of well wishers, kept advising me, this is not going to be a permanent phase. It is just that he's 3 years now. He's going to be growing very soon now. Don't leave the job, was the advice that was given to me from many of my well wishers, including my parents.
Listeners, especially the younger listeners, because IT at that time was seen as a risky job,
Yes,
whereas bank is considered as a stable job which pays well. Because IT had not become a stable
correct.
with all the fancy image it has now. It wasn't
Yes,
that way.
bang on. You just came to the exact point that was worrying me, because from the date I got married and till the time I opted for VRS, I think my husband would have switched at least 4 to 5 jobs. That is the way IT used to work, and I think it is still like that. And I'm a person who settles down and very, very close to changes. And so I was very much happy with the banking job. And as you said, I had to take that decision for my son. And one fine morning, we just, as a team, we went and dropped our letters in the HR. It was a package of voluntary retirement, and so we just opted for it as a team together. At that point in time, answering your question, I was definitely not thinking of any comeback, because I very much thought it's all over.
Hmm.
Okay, my professional life is over. Whatever best can be done at home with my child, I have to divert all the little knowledge that I have to, bring him up in the positive side. That is what was my only thought at that time. A very great challenge that I had to face at that point in time as a working professional was, my son had the habit of being violent to the children whom he was playing with, and there were a lot of attention given by the neighbors in my own flat. And people generally have had the opinion that I am too soft to my children, which is the reason for him to be violent. I have to be taking a stick on my hand and correct him. That was the idea. And so I very much thought I can bring him back to the right path only if I am at home.
Hmm.
This is going to be my life henceforth, and I am a full time homemaker. You do something for looking forward to something, and that doesn't happen. That is what happened to me also. 7 times my husband had traveled to US, and I wanted to, badly enjoy the NRI life also, because anyways I'm a homemaker. Anyways, he's going to be traveling, and I wanted to join him badly. It was a new thing for me at that time, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, for first 2.5 years, nothing happened. He was very much stable in India, working only in Chennai at that time. I quit the job in 1999. I was only 29 years then. My second son was born after my VRS.
Yeah. One thing, Uma, how easy or difficult this shift is. At a higher level, you know that you have taken this decision for your family, for your children, and all that.
Yes.
But let us just come to the micro level, okay?
Yeah,
the next month after your VRS, okay, this was the day you used to get a paycheck.
correct.
And then there is this random form where you enter, what is your income, what is your occupation, and all that, right? Those moments, did you feel bad? I'm asking this because there are
Yeah,
so many women who have left work when I talk to them, while they are clear on the reasons why they left, and most often than not, it is for children. But that feeling bad is there, especially when they do such things. When somebody asks, "What are you
very
doing
much, very
now?"
much.
So, could you touch
Yes, yes,
upon that? And what was
yes.
your mechanism to
Yeah.
overcome that kind of a feeling?
I was identified and respected more for my job than for what I am as such as an individual.
Right.
So that is a pride. Day one on which we were at home, it was a daily routine right from your childhood. When you go to school, college, office, everywhere you just get up, dress up, and go out.
Yeah.
The very concept of starting from your home to stepping out itself was missing. So
Yeah.
there was no reason behind why I should take bath today, why I should dress up today. It was turning out to be a little meaningless to me. And
Hmm.
what are we going to do further down? I cannot consider myself as a full-time woman who does embroidery, who does handwork, who does showpieces, who draws, and who does the project for the children, and tailoring, stitching, gardening, anything that you associate with a woman. I am not that at all.
Hmm.
Professional life was the only plus that I had, was a feeling that I myself had, and that was plucked out from me. And what am I now? What is the thing that I'm going to be doing now? Was the feeling for the first 6 months. The basic depression that was within me was growing along with my children. So I'm a person who is a fun-loving person, but this was itching me from inside.
Hmm.
You won't believe, there was a day when my washing machine was down and the service person had come. He asked me, "Are you working, madam?" I said, "No." "Why are you not working?" "I thought you're working." "Why, ma'am, you're not working?" He went that extra bit and told that one sentence. The whole day I was upset. Oh my God, even a washing machine service person knows that I am worth something in terms of working, but why am I not working? That was, and there was a movie in Tamil, Pirivom Sandipom by Sneha.
Hmm.
He had that habit of, recording the chirping music sounds of birds and used to listen to it, and call the electrician, plumber, all those technicians very often home because she wanted some diversion in terms of engaging
Hmm.
herself. I could very much relate to her in terms of what I was going through also. So you talked about the monetary part of it. Before that, I touched the emotional part of it, because when my husband takes me to his office parties, that was the only outlet that I had, because I was a person who used to attend so many get-togethers and all when I was working. And my husband, it was like clinging to him, and weekend, "Are you going to take me out?" That
Hmm.
feeling itself was sick for me. Though my husband is a person who generally is a very family oriented person, I very much thought every single outing, every single entertainment that you are looking forward to is with your family only, and you need somebody to take you out, whether I was in India or abroad.
The world around you had kind of shrunk,
Shrunk.
right? In
Yes,
terms of
exactly.
one a bigger area around your personality. And from that angle, it
Yes,
has shrunk. While you
yes,
are
very
still
much.
enjoying and doing, and it's a choice that you
Yes,
have made.
I was enjoying motherhood as such. That was a parallel line that I was definitely enjoying. There are a lot of other mothers who generally tell me, "Oh God, you are enjoying it so much," because I create my own song to make my son sleep, and I put a lot of fun element into cine songs and make them enjoy too, dancing with them. All that was there, but
Hmm.
inside the small feeling, not small, it was a big feeling.
I want to like little fast forward here, okay, for the homemaker part, because that
Yeah,
is what everybody will be familiar with. I
very
just
true.
wanted to touch upon these aspects of it. And
Yeah.
now, could you just share about your
Yes,
return
I was
part?
always wanting to work, but still I couldn't do that. I went to US as dreamt of, and spent about 4.5 years in US, and I came back to India for good. That was again a big decision. My son, elder one was in 7th standard and my younger one was in 3rd standard. By then, they had their own friend circle and they had their own playtime, and there was a saturation point when they didn't need me anymore in terms of the emotional support, in terms of the physical support, in terms of the knowledge that I used to try to impart to them. All this were slowly, coming to a standstill, and I very much thought I'm not needed at home at all because. But by then, when I came to India, I had made myself a very indispensable part of the house, like no maid, no rickshaw, no van. All those things were cut.
Yeah. So which is what? Which
Yes,
is an important part I would like to highlight, because especially Indian women, when they feel they are taking up the role of running the
yes, yes.
home, they feel they have to do it all.
Exactly. That
So
was
you went
all
into
in.
that particular pattern of being the driver, being the cook, being the ego around running the
Exactly,
home without a
exactly.
maid and all
Again, that
that, right?
feeling kept coming to me, and
Hmm.
one thing that I definitely believe is you want something to happen with your full heart, that will happen somehow. What I would like to definitely highlight this now, because I was planning to, take up a job. I wanted to take up a job, and I kept applying on all avenues, but then wherever I apply, I was 40 at that time, and wherever I apply and try to get a job, it was like a reject letter only. One is the long break that I had in my career. Second is my age.
Hmm.
So I was even more getting depressed because, oh my God,
Hmm.
I'm not going to be getting into anything. My NRI life is over. The life that I wanted to be a full time mother is also almost. Like my children are not needing me anymore at home, and my husband is a very busy professional, IT professional, and so where am I? What am I going to do? Was the feeling at that time, and I had Citibank friend Hema Malini. She's working in a private bank, and she's a very senior person there. Even then, I had my own, inhibition as to how to call her and talk. I've not been in touch for 10 years, and when you need something, calling and talking was not sounding very good to me. So I was just ignoring, and I applied for the same bank in which she was
Hmm.
working, and I got a reject message immediately. Obviously, it didn't tell me the reason for why I was rejected. Nobody was ready
Hmm.
to see me and assess me based on what I am. So that moment, when I got the reject message, I just
Hmm.
called Hema and introduced myself after a long time. Hema, by the way, I applied on this job portal and I'm getting a reject immediately. Why is it so? Is that because of my age? I asked. And she was surprised. Oh God, are you looking for a job? I can
Hmm.
place you immediately, she said. And she put me on to her boss. And I went and met the boss of Hema. And the moment I opened the door, this was the person who had given the prize to my son when he had participated in the competition.
Oh.
Before even I wished him and I said, I know you very well. That person was surprised. Generally, it is he who would have started the conversation, and I started the conversation saying, I've met you before itself. That was my interview, believe me.
Most often we think it is always about the skill set, whether we know whatever has happened in the banking industry, in your case, in the last 10 years, all that. But most often than not, if you have the right attitude, and most often people are looking for that, they get the feeling that, oh, this person is running behind opportunities, putting all the hard work to make use of the opportunities. The attitude is right, the person is forthcoming, communicating well. All these things matter so much more, because skill is something you can always learn, right? So maybe that is what, when you say that that was your interview, maybe that person was right in terms of examining all these qualities which you were kind of conveying in your interaction, maybe.
Absolutely. The only plus point that I had, in my profile was I can immediately join. They
Hmm.
called me, HR called me and asked, how soon can you join? I can join tomorrow itself because there's no notice period. There is no,
Right. You had done the homework, you had the intention. Like, it was not as if you were trying to, at that time, figure out the support system,
yes,
right?
absolutely. The homework that I did was I was not keeping myself idle when I was a homemaker. I'm not a very great cook. I'm not a very great person in all the other household works too. But I was keeping myself active in terms of when I was in US, I was teaching children. in the Tamil Sangam. I was teaching Tamil to the children over there. And when I came back here, I joined a small school. I was working for 1 or 2 hours in the school, volunteering, as an admin staff. It is just that you don't let your brain rust.
Correct. It's wonderful. Such a wonderful point you mentioned here. Again, when I speak to women, many of them, when they have left a job, they are always looking for some opportunities in the same area, which may
Correct.
not happen because the reason you left is because you have some kind of other
Yes.
priorities. So they feel it is very pointless if they have to engage in volunteering, engage in something else which is not aligned with their original skill set or original domain of work. My view has always been that it doesn't matter. You may think these are not connected, but you never know. All these things connect eventually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are used to stepping out of the home every morning. You are used to interacting with people. You're used to communicating effective. Your language is maintained. You cannot underestimate anything that you do apart from what your routine life is.
And Uma, when you came back, it would not have been easy, right? Because the post at which you joined, maybe at that time your colleagues
Yes.
who were of the, in a similar position, they would have been quite young.
Yes.
So how was
Yes.
that?
I was placed at the entry level. Whatever experience that I had earned for 9 years was not valued at all. They were looking at me as a homemaker who is taking up a fresher job. And I kept insisting, why am I being placed just as a deputy manager? I have to be looking for a manager grade, is what I was negotiating. But
But good to know that you negotiated.
yes, I did.
Most often people think so inferior of themselves. They'll say anything you give is okay.
I'm one person who always thinks high about myself, and it is very hard to hide that from being exhibited to others.
Yeah, but despite the fact that you got regret letters from so many other places,
Yes,
despite the fact that you were desperate, not from a monetary kind of a thing, but desperate to get on with a career kind of a state, despite that, you chose to risk negotiating.
yes.
So, what happened after this negotiation exercise? Was Uma given a better position? And did that jumpstart her second innings? That is what we will examine in part 2 in the next episode. You, the listener, may be able to relate to this phase in life where you are eager to do something beyond the routine, but at the same time demanding role in the family. But you feel there are so many challenges around the same. There are several micro level points that we discussed in this episode, and there is much more waiting for you in the next episode, which would be helpful in your own journey. Be sure to subscribe and listen. And please share with women in your life who may be going through a similar phase or would love to listen to something like this. Meanwhile, let me also give a big thank you to all of you for supporting this podcast. As we complete the second anniversary, I launched a monthly newsletter as a gift for all of you. This newsletter will have some thoughts, some tips, and more sharing. Please visit the website www.thenewindianwoman.com and subscribe to the monthly newsletter. Remember, you are what you want to be, and the time starts now.